Welcome to the What to Play podcast. I am your host, Jacob. Lucas cannot be here due to prior commitments, so we're going solo on this Thanksgiving edition, mostly. As tomorrow is Thanksgiving, we hope you'll have a lovely Thanksgiving. But we got some football games to do. So, this will take place instead of the traditional Wednesday videos. This video will be on Spotify. Like all the What to Play podcasts will be. This will also be on Rumble. Like all of it will be the What to Play podcast channel, YouTube channel, excuse me. And this will also be on the NFL World YouTube channel. So this will be on every site. So let's first begin with our. So this will be. Let's first begin with the recaps of Week 12, which was a chaotic shit show. That's the best way you can describe it. It was a chaotic shit show. It was things were flying at the wall, and it wasn't Hail Mary. Well, actually it was. And then it was a turn yes, and then there was yes, and then mostly happened in the Cowboys Commanders game. So let's get right to it. So, if you recall, the last time we talked about this game on the What to Play podcast, I said, this game, we don't even really need to watch. We know what's going to happen. And for 3 quarters, it wasn't what we were watching. We saw, I think, what we always seen from a Cliff Kingsbury offense. They start off really well. They're on the rise. They're making plays. They're doing this. Everything's at a high volume level. And then they just nosedive. And for 3 weeks now, they have nosedived. They headed into this game on a 2-game losing streak. And then ended up losing this game 34-26. And the game wasn't even that close at times. And you just saw the Cowboy defense make plays, the Commanders defense make plays, trying to give their offenses a chance to do something. And they couldn't do anything. Like Dallas was playing inspired football on the defensive side. They got turnovers. They had 3 turnovers on the day, including the late game interception. They just made plays. They made plays. They flew around. They made plays. It was just, I really think you saw the entire season of a Cliff Kingsbury offense in this game. You saw in the first 3 quarters of what the offense is at the end of the year. And in the 4th quarter, you saw what the offense is in the beginning of the year. That's what we kind of saw. There was nothing going on in this game. Actually, the announcers put out this stat. In the 2nd quarter, the Cowboys didn't allow their opponents to score. That's the first time they haven't had an opponent score in any quarter of a game since October 6th, which is when they faced the Pittsburgh Steelers. That's insane. That is really insane to think about. For a month and a half, they haven't been able to stop anyone from scoring in any quarter. A field goal, a touchdown, a safety, nothing. That's insane to think about. But we get into that 4th quarter, it starts getting chaotic. The Cowboys, it's a 20-17 lead as the Commanders. Actually, let's first say this. Let's do this. Dallas makes it 13-10. And then Commanders fumble the ball. Dallas recovers. Throws a seam shot for a touchdown. They get 20-10. Commanders go down the field, make it 20-17. Have a great drive, kick the ball off. Actually, go for 2 to make it 17 because they had missed an extra point early in the game. So they kicked the ball off. KaVontae Turpin, the Cowboys kick returner, bobbles it as it kind of rolls to him, it goes through his legs. It was the most built up, everything that you could think of if Boston was that. Picks it up, and then goes forward kind of like in half speed. Does a half, just spins around and gets 6 guys to fall for the spin and just takes off. And runs it back for a touchdown. So it's 27-17. Commanders go down the field, get a field goal, go for the onside kick, don't get it. Cowboys can't do anything with it. Punt it back with like 24 seconds or something like that. 34 seconds. Commanders run a Hail Mary, basically. A miracle play. And no one covers Terry McLaurin. And for 86 yards, he just runs down the field and scores a touchdown. Game is 27-26 at this point. And you say, okay, let's get this extra point. The fans are going nuts. It's unbelievable. We're going to overtime, everything. And even though how bad we have played, we are going to overtime. And then Austin Seibert misses his second extra point. He missed 2 extra points in this game and a field goal. So it's 27-26. They have to onside it again. And Wanye Thomas, who's a backup safety, recovers it, returns it for a touchdown, the second return touchdown of the day and of the quarter. And all of this happened within the last 4 minutes. The last 4 minutes of this game, there was 4 touchdowns. That's insane to think about. It was a crazy game. It really was. The Hail Mary attempt for the Commanders failed, and that's how the game ended. That was pretty much it. But if you saw the offense of Cliff Kingsbury. First half of the year looks great. Second half of the year, no, it's bad. It's like everyone knows where he's going. It makes no sense. I do want to make this clear, though, as well. Brian Robinson did get hurt in this game. Austin Ekeler ended up getting hurt on like the final kick return of the game. So hopefully they're both okay. But those things are just not. Those are not the best situations to be in for a Commanders team that has been struggling too, and they need to get back to the winning ways. Move on to the Lions-Colts game, and I said a similar thing about this game. Like, this game, we know how this is going to end. I was surprised the closeness of this game. Actually, I gotta grab it. Gotta grab my phone here. The score was 24-6, so I was actually surprised it was that close. Gibbs had 2 rushing touchdowns, and Montgomery had the other rushing touchdown. That was it. That's pretty much what happened. I was impressed by the Colts' defensive effort, at least. But the Lions we knew could win that game. Now the Lions are the first team to win 10 games, followed by the Kansas City Chiefs, who beat Carolina Panthers. We talked about this. We said if Carolina either won this game or made it a game, we'd have to have a conversation. We are going to have that conversation right now. Or at least in a little bit. Let's do it in a little bit. So, when we get to halftime, this game was 20-6, Kansas City. At the end of the game, I get a notification on my phone, and then every other bit of technology that I have that says Kansas City wins it and fends off a late rally by the Panthers. And I was thinking, okay, maybe they scored a touchdown late or something like that. No. They scored 21 points late, and KC couldn't do much of anything. That's a concern. We're going to have that conversation, and we will. Next up, Dolphins, Patriots. Score was 34-15. This is the typical Dolphins offense. Tua had 4 touchdowns, 1 to Waddle, and then they ended up having some plays with Achane. They made things happen. Just make things happen. And the Dolphins, they're 5-6. They're making things work since Tua's been back. This is what the offense is supposed to look like, not the offense that we saw for the first 2 months of the season. Moving on to the San Francisco-Green Bay game. Green Bay winning this game 38-10. We knew a backup quarterback would be playing instead of Brock Purdy. Purdy got hurt. It ended up being Brandon Allen, and it was not good. Turnovers, missed plays, missed possessions, not performing well. Just on and on. This is not good. Not a good performance for San Francisco. Now 5-6 in a division that Seattle is winning and Arizona's right there. You're tied with the Rams, which we are going to talk about in a moment, but it's not a good thing to be in the situation you are in. Moving on to the Eagles and the Rams, 37-20 was the score. It was not a pretty game, but it was a game that, we're expecting the Eagles to play. It's a very much, and we talked about this, we're going to talk about it actually in the game between the Ravens and Chargers too. They depend solely on one player all the time. Solely on one player. That's not good. Because what happens if that player gets hurt? You can't depend on it anymore. You can't, or at least not for that year, or at least not for the games that he's out. He's hurt. He's playing, but he's hurt. You can't. We're seeing it with the Commanders right now. They depended on Jaden Daniels so much. And then he got hurt with his ribs. And they haven't been able to depend on him as much because the thing about Jaden Daniels is he can pass the ball, but he runs the ball, and he runs aggressively. Lamar, Saquon, those guys do that. Don't have them, it's a problem. But it gets to the point of they get into a bad position, and Belichick said this on Monday night. He said, the best play they can make of it in this 3rd and 20 is Lamar scramble around and make a play. They depend on him so heavily that it's Lamar must make a play for us, because otherwise we can't do anything in this situation. And the same thing goes here. Like Saquon, it's Saquon save us, Lamar save us. It's every week, that's what you expect. And when you don't get that, it's a problem. I will want to make this clear though. Brandon Graham did tear his triceps at the end of this game. He is done for the year. So it's kind of a work in progress at this moment. The Rams made it a game, much more of a game late, but it wasn't really a game. Same goes for the Chargers when they played the Ravens. 30-23 was the score. There was a late touchdown, but that was it. I mean, we knew what kind of game it was when the Ravens went for it, like on their own 15-yard line. Before halftime. Like that was the kind of game it was. Now, John Harbaugh is 3-0 against his brother, but I wouldn't be surprised if we see this game again. I really wouldn't. Because you had a lot of plays, and it was a fun game to watch. It really was. I thought the Chargers did a really nice job, for the most part, against Lamar. I just think when you play the Ravens, you have to play defense that you don't like to play. Like, you gotta understand this. When you play defense in the NFL, you do mostly what you're good at. The Chargers run a lot of nickel defense. Now, I'll explain this very quickly, because it actually kind of leads me into a point. So, you can say if you love or hate Brett Favre. You can say whatever you want. It's fine. Just be respectful, and that's fine. You don't like him? Fine. You like him? Fine. It's not a big deal. Just be respectful. But he's told a story he was at a college somewhere, and coaches would always say nickel defense, dime defense, all the time. And he'd be like, "What's nickel? What's dime defense? What does that mean?" And his backup quarterback was Ty Detmer. Ty Detmer was a coach's son. His father is a legendary coach down south. His father's was a coach for like over 50 years. And both of his sons played in the NFL. And were backup quarterbacks. They had played a little bit. They knew quarterbacking and coaching. And he would always say, like, Ty was one of the best backups I had. So I said, Ty, what does nickel defense mean? What's nickel? And Ty's like, serious? You're a starting quarterback. How do you not know what this is? He's like, I don't know. I don't know what this is. He said, well, they take a linebacker out and they put a corner in. He said, seriously? He's like, yeah. He's like, who gives a shit? Who cares? And dime, it's the same thing. You take another linebacker out and you put a corner in. You put another guy in. That's it. It's not that complicated. In a base defense, which is what you have to play against the Ravens, it's 3 linebackers. You're playing 4 defensive linemen and 3 linebackers. Because you're trying to keep up with Lamar, so you don't want to put so many big guys on the field in terms of defensive linemen, but also linebackers are not as good in coverage. So you can't put so many guys out there. But the Chargers want to have a nickel, which means they only want to roll with 2 linebackers instead of 3. It makes it difficult. And you could see the Chargers looked uncomfortable. And Belichick talked about that too. They looked uncomfortable, and that's not good. If this team plays them again, they're going to have to find a way to make it look like they're not so uncomfortable in doing what they're doing. And maybe that's the point of this last month of the season, is we got to show that we can run base more and we don't look so uncomfortable in doing it. Now, moving on into... Hang on, let me get the news up here. Moving on to the NFL news portion of this. So, I woke up. I got a notification on my phone saying Daniel Jones has signed with the Minnesota Vikings. Now he's going to be the backup quarterback. Now, everyone said Why not the Raiders? And I was like, well, what do the Raiders have? And I thought about this morning after I saw the notification. I said, Daniel Jones is in a great position. As in, remember when Tom Brady was a free agent? And we said, you gotta go to a team that is built already, that you don't have to really do much. It's already there. You're just adding to talent. You're not having to get a lot of talent. And that's what the Bucs were. They had Evans, they had Godwin, they had a ground game, they had a good offensive line, they had a good defense. They just needed a quarterback. They bring in the quarterback, they bring in a tight end, they're good, they're fine. That's what they did. This is Daniel Jones at the same point. They have Addison, they have Jefferson, they have a good ground game, they have a good offensive line, they have a good tight end. The defense is really good. Sam Darnold's just being told to drive the bus. Just drive the bus. We're going to give a lot of John Madden references today. He said, don't care if the horse is blind, just load the wagon. And it will work. And that's kind of what it is. Don't care if the horse is blind, load the wagon. Just load the wagon. It will go. It will figure it out. And that's kind of what it is. Daniel Jones is, in a way, saying he's the blind horse. He's going to figure it out. But load the wagon. Keep putting talent there. Get talent there. Go to a team that has talent. So that's what he did. He went to the Vikings. Because the Vikings are looking at this and saying, this is the best. We have the best team in our division. And we're right there with them. We just need to make sure we stay healthy. But then, we had a quarterback injury before the season started. So we got a backup quarterback playing. What happens if our backup gets hurt? We need somebody who can help. Daniel Jones could fill that position and we say, okay, yeah, he's got experience. He's also a weapon. He can run, he can throw, he can do this, he can do that. Make it easy. Plus, he gets Kevin O'Connell, which is kind of like the Kyle Shanahan. So going from Daboll's system to Kyle Shanahan is kind of like a light switch kind of thing for him. It's a good move. It's a smart move. Don't care if the horse is blind. Load the wagon and see what happens. It's that simple. Moving on. Chargers J.K. Dobbins to miss some time with knee injury. Or with a knee injury, I should say. He suffered that knee injury, and that was a big blow to the Chargers because he's been a good player for them. I think, should be up for comeback player of the year. Him and Nick Chubb. I really think they've played well. And when we talk about Nick Chubb's resilience, J.K. Dobbins, my Lord. 2 Achilles tears. Achilles tear, an ACL issue, this issue, that issue. It didn't stop for 3 years. And that's resilience right there. Same thing goes for a Cam Akers who's had 2 Achilles tears in 3 years. That's a crazy thing to think about. That's a lot of resilience. So the hope is that he's okay. Let me actually click on it here. Let's see the actual timeline, but he is going to miss time. It doesn't exactly say, it just says knee sprain. So Okay. Moving on to the Thanksgiving matchup between the Giants and Cowboys. The quarterback for the Giants, Tommy DeVito. It's a long shot for Tommy DeVito to play, according to this report. After it was said that DeVito had an injury to his right forearm. I don't exactly know what that was. He did get sacked quite a bit, got sacked about 4 times against the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, so wonder if that has something to do with it. I'm just looking to make sure I got everything. Okay, yeah, let's go. So, as much as we know, okay, there's 3 games on Thanksgiving this year. There's also a game on Black Friday. The Raiders at Kansas City. This game happened last year on Christmas. Christmas Day, actually, to be precise. And the quarterback of this game will be Aiden O'Connell. As Gardner Minshew suffered a broken collarbone, he's done for the year. And we were saying, is it Desmond Ridder? Who is it? It's going to be Aiden O'Connell, who's come back from a thumb issue. The hope is he's okay. It's actually hard to come back from a thumb issue because you can't control the ball the same way. It's one of those things. You have to be very careful. And it leads me into this too, which is when people say, well, there's a lot of did not participates on today or tomorrow or whatever. Let me give you a reason why. When you get to a game, you have a game on a Sunday. Your next practice day is a Wednesday. You have 2 days to get your body healed. And most teams, they take their veteran guys and they don't practice them on a Wednesday. They practice them a little bit on a Thursday. They practice them a little bit on a Friday. And they're good to go for Saturday and Sunday. They're fine. They're like, let's go. They just played a game on a Sunday. Now, they don't have that luxury to practice Wednesday, Thursday, Friday. Because there's a game on Thursday. They got to practice Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. Their bodies hurt. That's why people don't like playing on Thursday. Because it means they got to play a game on Sunday and then practice Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday. And potentially travel. Which is worse. Because you already saw it, now you got to go sit in an airplane. It's not that complicated to really think about it. I just want to make sure I got everything. Okay, right here. So the 49ers face the Buffalo Bills in Buffalo on a Sunday night showdown. The forecast is currently calling for freezing temperatures, possibly snowfall and winds that could exceed 20 miles an hour. The National Weather Service in Buffalo has called for potential low visibility, with snowy roads and possible impact travel. There's no plans to. Oh, hang on a second. There's no plans to. Okay, yeah, we're fine. There's no plans to currently postpone Sunday's game, which is slated for an 8:20 kickoff. Continues on, saying Highmark Stadium is synonymous to the years of hosting games with less than ideal weather. Unless, if you're a Bills fan or a player, you know this fact well. So basically, expect, and everyone's like, oh, it could be bad weather in Buffalo. It's Orchard Park, New York. It's going to be bad weather. It's going to be windy, it's going to be freezing, and it's going to be snow. So why I don't like playing in Buffalo in late December. Now, before we get into the week 13, week 13. We just recapped week 12. We have to talk about this. So, we had a Jerry Jones on 105.3 The Fan on Tuesday doing his weekly radio. And he talked about potentially extending Mike McCarthy. And that got through to the media. This is Jerry Jones, though. Why the media is always surprised, I don't understand. The media went and heard this. This is from Jerry Jones. And Jerry Jones is a great businessman. You can hate him as a owner. I don't like the way they've conducted business this year, but that's my opinion. But as a businessman and selling, he can sell. And he sells to the media, and we buy it every week. He said Mike McCarthy, that there could potentially be extension talks. Now, he did the same thing with Jason Garrett. When they did the lame duck thing, remember, before they moved on from Jason Garrett, they had like 2 or 3 dinners with Jason about potentially extending it. They did that before making the move on from Garrett. That's what they did. I remember that. And this is a very similar situation. Here's what I'll say, though. Here's the little difference that I'd make to this quote. If they make the playoffs, okay? They go from where they are, they're 4-7. It's not impossible. It's not likely, but it's not impossible. Because it would mean they'd have to win out or go and get in the playoffs at 9-8. So almost winning it. Then it would mean they would have to get into the playoffs, probably as a divisional winner. I think they would go to Mike and they'd say, Mike, we want to extend you. We really do. But we also going to ask you this. If we extend you, are you willing to give up play calling duties? And I don't know. I don't know if he is. Because I think that's the issue. Mike's a good coach. That's what Jerry Jones said. That's what Troy Aikman said. Everyone said that. Mike's a good coach. But you look at this offense. It's not they don't have a lot of motion. They don't have a lot of movement. They don't make it easy for the quarterback. It's hard. Everything's hard to run. They can't run the ball well. There's a lot of problems. And I think if they would add some motion on run plays and pass plays, I'm not saying motion every time. I'm just saying motion more often. They can help the offense out. That's what they need to do. And I think if they went to Mike and said, Mike, we want to extend you. Now, again, this is all if they go to the playoffs. If they don't go to the playoffs, it's not going to happen. But if they go to Mike and they say, Mike, we're in the playoffs. we were in the playoffs this year again. This is the 4th time in 5 years we were in the playoffs. But we didn't get to where we wanted to go. If we extend you, are you willing to give up play calling duties if we bring in a guy to be our coordinator and play caller and understand our team? Because it might not be Brian, it might be somebody else. Are you willing to do that? Like that might have to be a question. It really might. Because there is no movement to this offense. It's hard. Your defense, say what you want. They've played well. They're going to have to continue to play well. They're going to have to play like the 85 Bears, the 2000 Ravens, to do something with this team. They're going to have to. Because the offense can't do anything. There is no movement. There's no motion. They need to help them out. That's hard to do, though. It's really hard. So, I come back to it. If they were to extend Mike McCarthy, it would only be if they made the playoffs. And it would probably be, Mike, we're going to extend you, or we want to extend you, but we need you to give up the play calling duties. That would be the condition. That would at least be my condition. If they make the playoffs, it would be, Mike, we want you to stay, but we need you to give up the play calling duties. We need to bring somebody who understands this kind of offenses. Like we're seeing Johnson in Detroit, and we're seeing LaFleur in Green Bay, O'Connell in Minnesota, and Shanahan in San Francisco, McDaniel in Miami. Of all these offenses that have all this motion and how their quarterbacks look so comfortable. They don't look stressed out. They look calm. There's movement. They just constantly don't have to worry about a situation. The quarterbacks are going to make the right plays. They're not forcing consistently. Everything doesn't look so super duper hard. There's separation. We don't have that. And the only way we can get that, is we need a different play caller. We don't want to change the head coach, but we need a different play caller. That would be what it would have to be, I think. If they made the playoffs, that's what would have to happen. If they wanted to keep it. If not, then it's a totally different thing. If they don't make the playoffs, Mike McCarthy won't be here. And if they do, but he doesn't want to give up the play calling duties, he might not be here either. Now, let's move into the games. So, let's begin with the 12:30 game. Chicago at Detroit. It's going to be interesting. 9.5 is for Detroit. That's high. That's very high. In fact, I'm going to take the Lions to win, but I'm going to make it a lot closer of a game. The score is going to be 28-24 Lions. But it gets very interesting in these games. In these divisional games especially. So, Lions win 28-24. Let me look back at that. Next up, Giants at Cowboys on Fox. 3.5 point favorites. The over-under is 37.5. These offenses are both bad. They're really bad. But without Tommy DeVito, it's either Drew Lock or Tim Boyle. It's not impressive. I'm going to take the Cowboys, who are favored to win this game. I'm going to take them to win and get to 5-7. And then maybe some interesting things happen. You never know. Cowboys win 20-10 in a pretty boring Thanksgiving game. Next up, Black Friday. Raiders at Chiefs. Chiefs favored by 13. Aiden O'Connell's the quarterback. Chiefs have been playing some strange games. Give me the Raiders. I told you the Raiders would split with them. This is the game they're going to split. Raiders win. They find a way to win. 24-21. Next up, Colts at Patriots. Patriots +3. This is one of those games I think the Patriots are going to win. They just are. It's not that they're better than anybody. It's just that they're going to win. Because the Colts offense is strange. So give me the Patriots winning this game 24-17. Next up, we got San Francisco. Hang on, let me get this. Yeah. Let's do the Eagles. Okay. We got Eagles at Ravens. Ravens favored by 3. The over-under is 51. That might go over, actually. But give me the Ravens to win. I think this will be a fun game to watch. And I'm going to be watching this game on CBS for sure. Ravens win. High-scoring game. 38-31. Last game, San Francisco at Buffalo. Bills favored by 7 in the snow, in the wind, in Orchard Park, New York. It's going to be cold. It is going to be freezing. Give me the Bills. And it makes more questions than answers. Bills win 30-10. And before we go, we will have this conversation about the Kansas City Chiefs. I didn't forget. I just wanted to make sure we get all the NFL stuff out of the way. The thing about Kansas City. Remember when we talked about the Eagles last year? And I said there was something off about them. We didn't know what. But there was something off. And we only found it in December. And then it was a complete loss. The Chiefs are kind of on that path. They are really bad. They haven't played great defensively. You let the Panthers score 21. That's too much in a late game. Late in the game. To make it a game at some point. The game was tied. To the point it's not fun to watch sometimes. The Chiefs play off. They're not fun. They're boring. They scored 30 points. You think they should have won. That's the highest scoring margin in a long time. And they didn't win by much. That's the problem. We talk about how great Spagnuolo's defenses are. They let the Panthers score 27. That's bad. You can't win games based off of only field goals. You know what this reminds me of? This reminds me of when Tim Tebow was the quarterback of the Broncos. Where they'd win games 17-14, 13-10. And we'd say, Tim Tebow did that. And I'd be like, Tim Tebow had 1 completion on the drive. And had a total of 5 completions on the day. Legit. One time he had 2 completions the whole game. He couldn't throw. They would win these games, though. That was how they won. They ran the ball, and that he could complete 2 passes a game, and they won the game. It was unbelievable. The Chiefs are not exactly that, but that's how they win. They're going to win games. Scores of 7, 10, 3. That's how they're going to win. They can't win by 20. I saw a meme, and it was talking about the Cowboys, but it really does resemble the Chiefs too. It was saying how the Cowboys cannot win a normal game. And they were showing the Steelers game about how they nearly fumbled inside the 10. In a game against the Commanders where literally they're doing everything to almost lose the game, and yet somehow they find a way to win. The Chiefs are in the same boat. Not exactly the same, but the ways they are winning and you gotta win, like that's all important. You can't, the last time the Chiefs and Raiders met, this game was too close, and the Raiders weren't very good. Now they're worse, and I'm afraid the Raiders are going to win this thing, because it's not Gardner Minshew playing quarterback. So, I think it all has to be said. It's not Mahomes' fault, it's not Kelsey's fault, even though Kelsey hasn't played well. It's the offense does not click. There's no offense. What we said about Cliff Kingsbury and the Commanders, we have to say about Matt Nagy and the Chiefs. It's not good. First half of the year it was okay. Now it's not good. And as much credit, we gave Spagnuolo all this credit. He's a wizard. He's this, he's that. It hasn't looked good the last month. Hasn't looked good. Hasn't looked good since the Buffalo game. And even really before that. It didn't look that great. But Buffalo definitely created some holes, and teams are exploiting those. And that's what they're doing. Plain and simple. And that is it for the Well Played Podcast. Let me know in the comment of what you think of the predictions this week and who you would predict to win this week. But also, give me a reason of why the Chiefs have looked so bad in recent weeks. For Well Played Podcast, I'm Jacob Heber, and we will see you next week.